Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Rangru. Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, we have a bit of a civil war today. Today on Haroshaje, what do we have, sir?
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have Lesitte playing the Axis 5th Cavalry Romanian Division with Maverick income. Right-hand side in the red, we have GhostDragon playing the 8th Allied Romanian Cavalry Division. So this will get confusing, to say the least.
Yeah, this really is a red versus blue thing where it's like, well, why are we fighting? Well, they have a base over there.
Yeah. And the flag. We got to get the flag.
And 2 quarts of elbow grease and headlight fluid. But, you know, I will say, looking over here at the Axis version of this, they're always going to have my heart because they have the P2 Lux.
Oh, yes. I love the looks.
Oh, man. And there's a weird rinky-dink braid of 47 mils as well, too. These things are just ancient, now that I think about it.
The looks always reminds me of, like, someone gets a Tiger tank and they just grist it.
Yeah, you're kind of right.
Like a tiny Toiga.
You're kind of right. Maybe it's the Tiger tank chassis, like a P3 turret. But we are going to see lots of beautiful light vehicles here. Of course, we got the APs over here on the left-hand side, the horses over here on the right-hand side. This is autocannon central, and light AT guns galore. And despite the fact that both squads are technically supposed to be cavalry divisions, I'm not really sure we're going to be seeing a lot of charges today.
No. The cavalry charges in 44 definitely were a little bit out of style.
Out of style, yes, but not out of complete insanity. I remember, always think of the Mongolians. I think, wasn't it in Kursk?
Something, yeah.
Kurgan that just charging an entire division.
Kurgan, yeah.
There, yeah. So I mean, insane stuff. Northern side, pretty quiet. The southern side, pretty quiet. This is going to be almost prototypical. We're just jamming stuff right up the gut, and we're going to see what happens first.
Indeed, and it seems Lesitte is definitely taking the big W so far early on, using their light vehicles quite effectively, because they have Panther 2 Luxes, 222s, fantastic combo here. GhostDragon, yeah, took and create some heavy casualties, so Lesitte should be able to set up right down the middle and really lock his place down.
He should be able to do that, yes, but we still have this HS-129 being brought on, and the Henschel being kind of back and forth for some gum runs. So he's going to go after the 45 mil, not realizing that there's a Hotchkiss with an attendant 25 mil now there. So, wisely backing out. Well done, sir. You indeed shall fight to live another day.
He will.
Or live to fight the another day. Someday, he will see. Now, other than that, now we have a bit of a moment as they're kind of catching their breath here. Romanian Allied, Romanian Axis, who's got the better loadout to you? Because this is something I don't think we've ever seen before as a matchup.
I'd say arguably the Axis ones, so they do have slightly better tanks. Apart from that, they're honestly not that different. Of course, the Axis one also get access to a few German infantry and German direct units as well, which does go quite a bit. But it should be pretty even Stevens. I mean, they have a lot of the same units, just different colors.
I think the one thing that might actually almost push the Allied preference the other direction here too, is those 3 Hetzers.
Oh yeah.
Still have to kind of acknowledge the fact that the AT positions over here are really quite strong. And actually in this particular case, they do also have that off-map, which the Germans neglected to bring. Oh no, they're the 152 biplane, excuse me. But in terms of ground material, you also can't deny that having those Venatori de Gardas over here being just the absolute balls out crazy guys who just will never surrender. That's got to count for something.
Yes, unfortunately for GhostDragon is that Lesitte didn't overextend and try to push farther into the town. They just set up along the classic road defense line, just happy to get those 2 flags there, so to speak. So is this going to give Ghost time to get those reinforcements? And reinforcements is what he's getting. He's got 2 Serini 2s, which will be lobbing some shells from a very long ray array.
They certainly will, but I'm just trying to think about what might be able to engage them otherwise. The Rosita 75 mils are kind of slowly moving into position. P2 Lux, for some reason, is he trying to just engage with Azoria? Please don't tell me he's trying to engage this Rini. Oh, good. Oh, good. I was nervous for a second. It's like, don't throw your life away. I love you.
Yes. You're too cute to die.
Exactly, exactly. It's like shooting a Pokemon. Except for Psyduck.
Yes.
Go for it on
True
that one.
Psyduck.
Exactly. That'd be a little bit far-fetched otherwise. But 47 bills in the meantime. So we're seeing those light AT guns engaging back and forth, those kind of rinky-dink kind of AP shells and HE shells being lofted down range. Oh, wait, no, he's just... Oh, no, he's finally engaging. There we go. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we're just seeing just an absolute, classic line grind slaughterhouse here. I mean, Lesitte is slowly starting to push up a little bit, and they definitely still have, the fire superiority here, even bringing in the Rosita anti-tank gun to provide some high explosive indirect action here. But we're also seeing GhostDragon as a decent blob of just, Hungarian tanks here to provide some actually rather needed fire support. They are getting some good kills on these Romanian troops.
That's, I guess, why I'm a little confused. Why wouldn't see maybe the 75mm artillery piece, the dedicated artillery piece? Not the Rosita over here. The Rosita is there to be an anti-tank gun. Let it be an anti-tank gun. You have shells to lost from a great, great distance that don't have AP the same direction. Use the right hammer for the right job. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're going to get screwed.
Indeed. But just, it's anything else even happening in either flank? No, nothing at all. Not even, honestly, a surprise attack here from GhostDragon up north would probably go quite well, because he actually has a foothold up north. He has 2 infantry squads there. If he was to throw in some more troops, he could open up a whole nother front.
That's true. But I think he's got one of those moments right now where we've seen GhostDragon before, I think, be one of those guys who reacts to the threat that's right there in front of him, and he wants to stabilize that first. Which I respect. I think it's a very human idea to say, you know what? I don't want to leave my center to cope. I want to make sure that my center feels strong and feels loved and supported before I start giving love to the left-hand side or the right-hand side. It's an understandable thing. It's really, truly is understandable. And we already see more of those, insane in the membrane Venatories being sent to the middle. By the same token, we are seeing Pioneer going the other direction as well. So these guys simply content to kind of mash on further and further forwards. Which please
go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
GhostDragon is slowly getting that foothold into the town. Very briefly held onto that crossroads flag. It does seem they are starting to slowly turn the tide here a bit. It's a lot of those Panda 2 Lukes. Well, they weren't so Lukesy.
No, they weren't staying up all night to get Luxie. But neither are those Shrek teams able to get taken out without taking their, pound of steel, as it were. But the Venatories jamming on forwards. We have the 75mm jamming on forwards. We have a lot of very interesting equipment just kind of prepped. And that might be the best way to think about it. They're prepped to make a giant assault. They just haven't decided to do that just yet. They haven't shifted themselves to the fore.
Yes. And one of the real advantages for GhostDragon's deck is that its A phase does include more no, it doesn't have the cheaper Panda 2 Lukes 222 spam, but it has the Zerinis and the Tron 2s, which are more survivable, not super survivable, but they're not going to go down to a stiff rind. So they can actually stick around here, provide excellent fire support, and GhostDragon has a really nasty death ball. And Lesitte doesn't have a whole lot of anti-tank.
Well, here's the unfortunate thing, though. 3 Zerinis. I'll just repeat that for the people at home. 3 Zerinis. And you watch this as a JU-87. Just has to get lucky once. And that's the idea, though, is that's the kind of unfortunate thing, is that since the Romanians are just that hard up for equipment, he got lucky this time. The transmission damage means that thing has already dropped a bunch of HP.
Yeah.
And that's 1/3 of his heavy firepower. In B phase, excuse me, there are 8 Stugs that can come the other direction.
Yeah, that's really going to be the main heavy hitter here for Lesitte, because if he can utilize those Stugs effectively, especially on this map against a division which doesn't have a whole lot of anti-tank, you can do some serious damage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree with you down south, though. One of those things I'd like to see the infantry that's right here make at least a moderate push. Shout and just see if he does start shifting units that way. Who knows? Maybe it actually allows you to actually take the center that much easier.
Yeah, even just up north, like... I mean, of course, there's always the uncertainty of what the heck is in the enemy tree line, but sometimes it's spending, one tick of income to yeet not a platoon, a company. No, yeah, a platoon worth of guys and a little bit of fire support to test the waters can get you a lot of territory.
I feel like your platoon company idea, it really depends which country we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the British, yes, you're sending a platoon in, test the waters, make sure that people don't get, their heads shot off. If you're the Americans, you send a company. If you're the Russians, you send a division, maybe an army or two, and just make sure, hey, if you lose them, you lose them. Big deal.
Just a lot of dudes.
Exactly. And another one of those most treasured vehicles, 25% of the Terrans just died over here in the center part of the map.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Funded with fractions.
Yeah, he cannot really... you're going to eventually lose them. It's not an if, but a when. Because they are still only Zerinis and Turans. But especially right now, when he just managed to flip a momentum here, actually get the central position of that town. And Lesitte, now in the B phase, he is pumping out the Stooks, because obviously he will. And I think once the Stooks get up here, he can start, switching the momentum back.
That is accurate. Do you see a Ju-88 trying to go and blow apart this one anti-tank gun? Doesn't quite get the kill. That actually is a very, very big disappointment, let's call it.
Yeah, he had one job. One bloody job. And a lot of bombs.
Exactly. Now, the BF-109 making their gun run over here, the Ju-87. Not going to be able to do a whole lot with it. The twin 25s. Ooh.
Wow.
Baby, that's spicy. Okay.
Damn good hit from the anti-air.
Indeed. Now, do you see that heavy machine gun, the Schwarzer those that's falling back right now?
Yep.
There had been two, and it's one of the things actually I don't think we really pay attention too much to, is in this town, where those two guys were, that houses to the east of him, currently unoccupied, beautiful lines of fire across the center line. And we don't talk very much about a lot of town fighting because you have very restrictive sight lines, you have very restrictive kind of approaches kind of moving through. But in this case, placement really does matter on Haroshaje. The whole kind of southwest to northeast line of the road, very, very different what we're kind of seeing, which is like this almost kind of crossroads, literally. Here, you actually have to be a little more nuanced, I think, with the approach. I don't think we ever pay attention to that as much as we should.
Yeah, just the town fights in Steel Division 2 are quite interesting, especially compared to like SD44 Warno, because there's quite a lot of open ground. Like, you pretty much got 3 lines of defense between the 3 major roads, and then try to make pushes, you have to kind of move across the, I guess, vertical from like the proper caster's perspective with CQC troops, and then you just set up all the long-range troops, along those lines. It's kind of like trench warfare, really. It's like Haroshaje is just one really big above-ground trench.
I think that's fair. And frankly, I think the Romanians kind of certainly feed into that same idea because they don't have a lot of tanks in the first place, so a lot of their engagements are going to be about foot sloggers. Oh, and by the way, you want artillery strikes? Well, here's an artillery strike. It's going to be coming your way in just a wee bit of time. Call it what, 30 seconds? And we'll see 105s being dropped on top of your head. So?
Yeah. No, this is... Even though GhostDragon is starting to lose, the tank engagements, right, he's done a fantastic job of positioning himself to take advantage of that disadvantage. Because he kind of set up like a bullhorn defense position here. And as you're seeing, it's really forced Lesitte into a clump. And that clump is going to get blown up rather shortly.
Well, as long as he at least put stress on the Strug and put stress on the heavy machine gun. Everything else is really just, icing on the cake. But those two engagements, those are the important ones right there.
Yes, and if those Serenis can get in close, I mean, those heat shells are quite deadly against Stugs.
That's true. That's true. And actually, we're going to be seeing one of the Hetzers, the valuable Hetzers being brought in here as well. So, not the most deadly per se, but certainly rather a depressing barrage regardless. We do have the wonderful little cluster HEs coming on the IAR-39As. Kind of looking forward to this. Unique biplane, which I don't think is going to make it out. But regardless, charming.
Yes, a very odd-looking aircraft. But he will get the barrage off at least. And yeah, we do see the follow-up of Rosorii from Lesitte. I guess the question is, once this barrage drops, really be able to follow through with an attack. I don't think he has enough stuff really positioned here to take advantage of that.
No, he doesn't. So he's got to put a lot of pressure on it, don't get me wrong. But when you have the ZB-53 that's already kind of retarding a lot of progress, and you have the Stoke 3 that desperately is trying to go and push it back by his lonesome, and to me, that's not going to be a prospect for a long-term success. Oh, and now you have the Hetzer there too. So
yep, he's going to be hatching now up north. We're seeing a little bit of movement here. Lesitte's going to be trying to clear out his forest. I wonder if that's going to lead to him trying to open up the northern flank here. After that forest is only at 147 mil, and it makes sense considering just how the southern push for him so far. It's not been going great, and we're getting towards the end of P phase.
You said the southern push. When you say southern push, I say what southern
central.
Push? I was going to say
the central south.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I hear you. Rosorii being brought in droves, though. Calarassi's behind them, and this is unique kind of clumpage that you were talking about that was being exhibited by GhostDragon, but Lesitte over here, guilty of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Going to get pummeled again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually quite concerned for him. Oh, and that infantry push on the northern side did not really amount to a whole lot, but down south you actually are seeing pioneer assaults kind of being drummed up for his own potential mini push there. But I'm fascinated about this artillery strike in the center, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. Same here, because that will be probably a lot of dead dudes, and once again, really for GhostDragon, it's pretty even Stephens in score actually, but once you get, of course, later on the C phase, Double Maverick, it's harder to really push on out unless one dude just runs out of infantry, which I don't think is going to be the case, as both have C phase cards worth of dudes available.
That does seem to be the case. Zerini does go down over here courtesy of the early, but the northernmost placed at 75 mil. And I'm trying to see the Hetzer, no HE, but he should be able to slide in and around. Maybe even come about equidistant between those two flags and really be a strong interdiction force. That'd be actually a really good position for him.
Yeah, he really needs to try to set up some sort of anti-tank directly on the next, defensive line here, the main road, so he can start knocking out some of these Stugs. He's playing more cautiously with his vehicles, which does make sense. He doesn't have a lot of them, but he's not. Well, I guess it's what he wants to do. If he wants to push on through, try to capture last two flags in the town, an aggressive stance would make a lot of sense. But I think he's just very happy to grind it down and just force the enemy to come to him.
The problem with that, though, is what happens when the enemy does, in fact, come to him. Like, right now, there's a Ju-88 that might be able to stop this push, but there's a pioneer assault that I don't think they know about in the trees. Yeah, I don't think he knows about that at all.
Kind of sneak on through.
He is, at least for the time being. Okay, so the Venator thing that was being brought on in here as well. So these guys, the hunters, should be able to clean this up. So that'll be fine.
Oh, another Tron 2 does bite the dust. Stug 3 getting a good little snipe here. And at least for Lesitte, he's done a very good job of keeping his Stugs alive. So if he can just keep them up, it's just about, slowly whittling down or these Vanatory positions, but the Vanatory is, yeah, ready to guard this town to the death.
I think GhostDragon made Lesitte mad. Because there are 6 squads of infantry being poured in from east to west. Basically, 4 Resoriais, 1 assault. One of those is assault, and a couple of pioneer squads here as well. But after that whole long, 18-minute detente, I think GhostDragon just got reminded that there was another front. And, hey, he's got resources.
Yeah, he's going to try and open it up, and if he does this, that's going to relieve a lot of pressure from the central town fight here. The question is, can he? Because by God, that 45 mil and the Pioneery coming in, perfect ambush, 1-2 combo.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very, very strange to see that much death and destruction already. Jeez.
Jeez, Billy, why do you get 2 flamethrowers and I only get 1?
But hey, they made it across the saddle, sort of.
Yeah, some of them did. The other one's a little bit stuck in the heat.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sure they're wearing sunscreen. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be okay. But let's see here, folks. Today's 13-11. Like you said, this is one of those games where neither side has taken a massive, massive advantage. And I don't know, outside of a misplay, that we're necessarily going to see that happen either.
No, like, Haroshaje is really, the road will run map where you're not really counting miles or counting just a couple dozen meters here and there. And for GhostDragon, he's so set up in the safe defensive saddle in the center, he can afford to just hold, keep his 14-10, and with both sides being Maverick, there's not a whole lot of pressure from him for trying to make something happen. It's honestly probably a little bit more risky at this point, considering the income.
Yeah, and you start to see, I think, that Lesitte over here is starting to get a little nervous, because now we're seeing 4, 5, 6 squads of, Pioneer assaults here, or 4 or 5 Resoriai over here being thrown up to the northern side or there. And I think we're starting to see that kind of, oh shoot, I'm behind, I gotta take territory now. So
yeah, it's really a now and ever ordeal. He needs to really get his thugs into better positions so he can, start taking the areas. Probably trying to flank the thugs around the north or southern end of the town would work a bit better. He can actually stretch his legs and flank about, shooting to the sides, but at the same time, the problem with the thugs is the heavy tank of the battlefield right now. But a heavy tank can only really do so much against so much, and I mean so much, entrenched infantry.
I think that's a very elegant way to put it. Is that we're seeing tanks that should be breaking the stalemate falling short of their intended use, because it's impossible. It is truly impossible to expect them to be able to do everything here.
Yeah, it's a classic heavy tank problem. You got this really cool uber elite heavy tank or fighter plane or whatever, but this is, it's a war. This is a whole heap of quantity. And, oh god, GhostDragon brought a bunch of Resoriai up north in the Pioneer assault, and Lesitte's Resoriai are having none of it.
Yeah, I was checking that out here myself here, but I feel like, yep, there's going to be somebody opening up some aggressive negotiations here in just a moment. He's aligning. Oh, luckily for them, he only got part of that payload off. Let's see if that's enough. He's going to drop short. Yikes.
Damn.
That was very fortunate. Very, very fortunate. That should have been far worse.
Yeah. But GhostDragon seems like he's still going to hold. There's actually a few Panzer II Lukes, quite surprised, which are still alive here, and we're going to see him being thrown into the town, but I think GhostDragon's position is just a bit unbreakable at this point, and he still has the foothold up north. Not enough to capture the flag, but enough to be a pain in the ass.
And at the end of the day, being a pain in the ass is probably the best thing you can be in any one of these games. If you can frustrate your opponent, you've won literally half the battle.
One of mind games.
Naturally, the other half is aimbotting.
Well, I usually just use the map hacks, but I'm gonna try and aimbot Steel Division.
Well, again, I have to say, and this is at this point an old clip, the Soviet Womble just absolutely destroying, I think, Rising Storm Vietnam by doing trigonometry on the maps. It's phenomenal. He does yeah. I'll have to send it to you after this, folks.
Okay.
If you want to know what I'm talking about, I think it's random Rising Storm bullshittery. I think it's episode 3. It's the last 3 minutes of it is phenomenal.
You will actually have to send that to me after the match. I will need to watch it.
It's so good. It's so good. Plus, get some 90 dance music in there as well, which is never a bad thing either. Brings back the whole the FIFA 96 vibes, which for me is another kind of holy moment. So we're talking about moments of our childhood. Yes, 96, I was a child. No, I don't need to know the fact that you weren't alive in 96. I am well aware.
He's real aware, guys.
But in the meantime, we have another one of those cluster biplanes coming on in. I wonder if he's actually going to use them for the actual... No, he's probably not going to. See, they're not even going to get the artillery strike off.
Nope.
He's
going to be forced back.
He's probably going to get struck. Yep. We should get rid of those bombs now, don't you?
But no, it's still just the slow grind. Honestly, we can probably take us to times 2 at, let's say, 2645.
2645 sounds good. I'm sorry, I was watching as this TAC camps over here engaged this Stug 3 and being beastly at it. And that's actually one of the things we didn't really talk about is those TAC camps. So TAC camps, more or less, your up-gunned, up-armored version, I would say, of a Martyr platform. It's a Zis gun on it with a Martyr with a Zis.
I would pretty much just call it the Romanians spent a lot of time and money just to reinvent the Su-76.
You think so? I mean, the Su-76 at least wasn't enclosed. I mean, this, I think, isn't this enclosed at least?
The back's open, but it's close enough. Both countries, well, I guess for the Romanians, are in desperate need of anti-tanks. So it's like, hey, we got Russian guns, we got out-of-date French tanks. Let's put... Is it French or is it the Czech one?
Czech.
It's a Czech tank. We got out-of-date French tanks. We just slap gun on top, and then lose raw. And then use it against the people we were fighting for.
It's a noble pursuit, but somebody's got to do it. Now, northern side, actually, there's this weird kind of little push, and this Brit is going to take forever to turn, and watch this be a seized bit of territory over here. This is going to be voluptuous.
Very nice.
Yep, that is ridiculous. No, I thought it was going to be the Ju-88, but no, Henschel coming in instead. Putting some fire down on top of them. He's going to get some kind of harassment done, but this is still enough to force the investment of an entire tick just to push these guys back.
Yeah, and we're also seeing investment of the Rosorii for Lesitte to try to hold. The question is, will this, small little roadblock of red dudes be enough to slow this down?
Well, even more important than that, check out the center for a moment. I kind of didn't realize exactly how badly outnumbered the Axis Romanians were actually getting crushed. Look at this. There's almost as many vehicles as there are extant Axis Romanians.
Yeah, it's the slow snowball effect of, that C phase, or one side eventually you just end up trading so inefficiently that this happens. Down south, there's stuff actually happening down south. Like, look, he's managed to capture, a flag at least, but once again, it's a little bit too late to trying to do southern stuff, considering he's already lost center.
Yeah, you kind of tend to want to do southern stuff before the other person falls asleep. So, I mean, the TACM R2s, I think, is going to shut this down. Doesn't matter how big your barrel is. Zis is going to get set, and the AB says, you know what? I think I'm fine. So, not too shabby there. But if we see a rupture over here, psychologically, that's going to put Lesitte, I think, in a tailspin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much like the match with the central town just completely collapsing and even, all the infantry's done, GG.
Yep. And that actually was a far greater spread of KD than I expected. Is that probably because of the strokes, I would think?
Yeah, and it's just like longer a match goes on, you know, it really just snowballs out of control because you just end up having much more units in comparison to the enemies.
That's also
Much
fair, yeah.
less units. But hey, you know, the cavalry division run.
Exactly. The Romanians were the victors here. Kind of like the Italians. Whenever the Italians fight in SD, they're always the victors.
Oh. And the losers. It really sucks to be Italian.
Is the Civil War really a personality? I'm Roman. I'm Italian. The Zerini's certainly doing their best over here, taking out quite a bit of material before they do get kind of ablapped themselves. Actually, yep, last Zerini down here taking out 2 Stugs, 105. So the few and far between AFVs did very, very well for themselves.
Yeah, he managed to keep him alive long enough to actually get the necessary value needed.
Mm-hmm. As well as, honestly, a couple of those 50 mils doing pretty solid as well. Actually, the 50 mils killed Gerbil.
Oh.
So it was, in fact, not a poison pill. It was a 50 mil shell.
Yeah, I'd definitely do a number to someone.
Exactly. Losses. On the other side, not too much to run home about, but that's...
No. I was expecting something at least, even the slugs, but not really. Now, I think, honestly, just that micro of the cheap, crappy Romanian tanks really allowed GhostDragon there to get the dub. Like,
Exactly.
he managed to position... Because in that town, if you can position them in, like, a perfect, like, line of field of view corridors, whatever, where you just have, you know, a small killing field, but you're still hidden by the buildings, you can do a lot of damage, and that's what we saw.
Exactly. But any final thoughts here, sir?
No.
Folks, in that case, then that's going to do it for us today, and probably for this week. Until next time, I'm Connorwork.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.